Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? The king of lightning here today, bringing you guys and gals Toriko, chapter 369 through 371 review. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, and no time wasted. We have the introduction of God. And I still don't know what the hell that freaking Saturn-ish tadpole was doing. I have no idea what's going on with that thing at all. But God, Frog God, is in. And God is extremely powerful. That Emperor's Ring in chapter 370 was massive. That was like a planetary-sized Emperor's Ring. That was way too big of a fucking Emperor's Ring. Shit, man. Holy fuck. So, either way, God is in. God's capture level is 10,000 among the divine beasts. According to Mitsutoshi, Heracles is around like 6,200 something. Heracles, as powerful as Heracles is roughly 3,700 capture levels less than God. And God is among the divine beast. What that means exactly, I'm not too sure. But, I mean, since it's called God, in of itself, it's a divine creature. It's a deity-esque figure. And apparently God has been around for 10 billion, count them, 10 billion years. Now, we know that Neo was around for at least 5 billion years. From the introduced time frame of Neo and God's history, God has been around at least double the time frame of Neo, which is scary. That is very scary. All right. Now, again, odds are is that Neo is probably way older than 5 billion years. However, we don't know for sure. We'll find out probably, but we know now that God has been up for 10 billion years. Honestly, the way it's implied, it's like God, the tadpoles themselves, have been transversing the universe and doing whatever, waiting for the right time to reach maturity, and then boom, here it is on planet Earth. It reaches maturity, and then we have the freak before us, the guy that can swallow a goddamn moon. And honestly, I really want to find out what the capture level of Whale King Moon is, because Whale King Moon, at least among the 8 kings, he's the fucking ultimate. He's a goddamn black hole. So we have a situation now where God has taken Komatsu. Komatsu is being protected by Zebra and being monitored by Sunny. And Toriko and company, they attack God. And this is where we get more details on how powerful God is. Where in chapter 369, God swallowed a fucking moon. In chapter 370, not only is he not being fazed by the attacks of Zebra, and then this is always a shockingly impressive feat. But it's no surprise given the capture level. He dodged the souped up mold spears. Y'all understand. Let me just control the hype real quick. Understand that those mold spears, they travel at speeds, at least they travel at speeds near light. And this dude just sidestepped them, like whatever, not a big deal. Understand, Bambina, capture level 6,000, was able to easily dodge mold spears. Now granted, he was in his true form. So in his membrane form, 6,000, his true form, I would say like maybe 7,000 or like 6,500, whatever it is. But far from 10,000. So the fact that God could easily dodge the mold spears, and in that same moment, Starjan makes a flame zone to entrap God. And he says, listen, you just saw the finesse. You just saw the speed of God. We don't want God to travel halfway across the planet in like an instant. We have to keep him here so we can make sure that God is on our dinner plate. So that, just the shocking speed. And not only that, but in chapter 370, when Gigi is talking about the gourmet cell inflation, and how this, of course, impacts every living thing. Where the intensity of the flavor rises, so do the gourmet energy of those that consume the ingredients. And then you have creatures like the 8 kings that are very powerful. And how this affects everything, including God. And as Gigi's talking, God, he senses some shit. And then like a page or two later, out comes Acacia, Neo Demon, and Neo Demon consumes Gigi. And I gotta say, man, God, the fact that Toriko and company, they didn't sense Neo Demon Acacia, but God did. God sensed, turned around, and then boom, and then you can see God's kind of scoping out, but he's not even phased. God's just chilling there, right? And that's kind of horrifying in its own right, because here you have Neo Demon, who we know is grossly powerful. I mean, the fact that Neo Demon could consume a sun, a small star that Don Slime made, is horrifying. That is horrifying. And yet, God, in the presence of Neo Demon Acacia, does not seem to care at all. I mean, that in of itself is just a major hint to notify you that God is a massive force, alongside the huge-ass Emperor's Ring. So, when it comes to chapter 371, God really has no relevance in that chapter, honestly, with the exception of the end of that chapter. That chapter is more tailored to the dialogue and the confrontation between Toriko and company and Acacia plus Joey. So, that is really chapter 371. So, based on all the stuff that I just said, that is more so tailored to the characterization. Yes, the story progression. But it's mainly for the characterization of God. And once again, this characterization comes from mainly the power of God, meaning God swallowing the moon, not being phased by Zebra's attacks, reflecting Toriko and Sunny's combo attacks, and dodging Coco's mode spears, which again is huge, it's massive. And then on top of that, it's that huge planet-sized Emperor's Ring, and how every species is being attracted to the savoriness of God. And then on top of that, it is finally knowing that God is 10 billion years old. And how it did not start off this way, obviously, but over the course of time, during the gourmet cell inflation, became this powerful, where it became a divine beast, or maybe it was already a divine beast to begin with, I'm not too sure. But it has reached a capture level of 10,000. Now, continuing on the line of characterization, we have Komatsu, who has nothing. He has 0, with the exception of getting captured by God, and you have him being protected by Zebra and being monitored by Sunny once again. And at the end of chapter 371, there's a possibility that the reason why God is looking so sick right now is because of Komatsu. Matsu is doing his thing inside of God's stomach, and he's cooking God from the inside out, which sounds absolutely horrifying, but you know what? Survival of the goddamn fittest, all right? It's Komatsu. He lives, and he's going to use the opportunity on this day. He sees clearly, and he's cooking God from the inside out. That's my guess. So, moving on with that, we also have Otake, and Otake and Starjun are kind of basically, because they're part of the Bushokuya, so like they have a small little bond there. And basically, since initially he was the only chef there, it was up to him to cook God. It was the food luck of Otake that was gonna cook God. However, Joey's there now. So, but at the same time, Joey's on their side, obviously. So my guess here is that if Otake still has a role when it comes to cooking God, Otake is gonna cook God from the outside in and Komatsu from the inside out. Like on some weird, crazy combo cooking thing. Now, the thing about Otake is that even though he knows that he is not rocking insane food luck like Komatsu, it is his food luck that will ultimately assist in the cooking, in the prep of God, where he has the resolve to keep his feet planted firmly on the ground, on this plateau of immense powers, and he's ready to go. And that's a little bit of characterization for him. Then you have Starjun, and this ties to Toriko as well. Starjun and Toriko. And Toriko, it makes more sense for him because he's the main character, but given the way Acacia reacted to the flies around God, how there were 4 small flies and there were 2 big fat flies, and according to what he said later on in that same chapter 371, the 2 big fat flies are Starjun and Toriko, the brothers. Now, that I think is just a wee little disrespectful to mainly Zebra and Sunny. Again, Sunny, Saiyan hair, controlled an entire galaxy, and then Zebra. I mean, like, just considering the notion that Zebra is one of the smaller flies and not one of the big flies, and how it's Starjun, so clearly implying that Starjun is more powerful than Sunny, Zebra, and Coco. Otake, yeah, fine. But Sunny, Zebra, and Coco. Coco, the broken bastard. Coco, alright, the freaking goddamn poison dolls. Constantly. Just, come on. So, that I think is very surprising. We get the dialogue of the Grimmy demons inside of the Four Heavenly Kings. With the exception of Otake and Starjun. I don't know why his Grimmy demon didn't come out and say something. His Grimmy demon hasn't said a goddamn word yet. There should be some type of connection there, like we see with Coco and his demon, Sunny and his demon, Zebra and his demon, Toriko and his demon, one of his demons, alright? Red and Toriko are like fucking, like they're on the same page. Blue is doing whatever, and the other guy, I mean, he's still chilling. He's still... Like, this guy is taking the ultimate power nap. It's like, dude, no. When I did that shit in my nose. No. Man. Wow. Okay, so, the thing here is, I'm just curious as to why Starjun's Grimmy Demon hasn't really done or said anything yet. Given the fact that we are on, like, a huge stage. And God, the ultimate, it has appeared in front of them. So when it comes to his characterization, the main thing here is, again, he's supposed to be on the same tier as Toriko, given what Acacia said. But given what has been shown, or actually no, what I should say is, given what has not been shown, I find that very hard to believe, in all honesty. I really do. So moving on from him, then you have Gigi. And Gigi does for sure, get a fair amount of characterization in chapter 370. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And what I find it very intriguing is that because he is just a manifestation of appetite, he is a Grimmy troll, the fact that he was given a name by Ichiryu, you had Gigi, Chi-Chi, and Kaka. Those three names, Kaka. This motherfucker Ichiryu had the audacity to name someone after Doodoo, which is insane. But either way, so those names were given to the bronze, silver, and gold chefs. And when it came to his desire to be something greater, even though he killed a lot of humans in the past for a whole lot of reasons, because Ichiryu was the one that kind of like forgave him and like he gave him the name, they wanted to be a combo with Ichiryu. And given his history, which he was going over at that moment when Neo Demon was consuming him, he was able to reach out of Neo for like an instant and infuse the hope of cooking God to Toriko, Sunny, Zebra, and Coco. So Gigi does get a lot of characterization in chapter 370, and in all honesty, it's because, I mean, the guy's dead now. He's gone. So, I mean, once you're consumed by Neo, it's game over. The next point of characterization is going to be the Four Heavenly Kings, mainly Toriko, because now, according to what Coco and company were saying, pretty much they are the face of this era. And you can see how this whole notion of hope is kind of like embodied by Toriko. And he's the MC, so it makes, I guess, sense. The series is named Toriko for a goddamn reason. We get to see, I think, the culmination of, and it sounds kind of weird, but we get to see the culmination of everything in Toriko in chapter 371, where Toriko, he really is brimming with hope in face of this astronomical power, Neo Demon Acacia. And that could be because of the third Grimmy Demon inside of him, where it's like innate, where he has the confidence to take him on because of that guy. But it also could be the culmination of his whole life coming to a climax here and now against someone that was revered by the entire world, Acacia, and how this person killed Jiro, how this force is trying to instill fear and despair in all of them, and Toriko's not going to stand for it because his entire career, his entire existence goes against that completely. And so I think more so you get to see how not only is it a clash of era, between the past era of Acacia and the current era of the Four Emily Kings, but also you get to see what is, I guess, the personification of hope that is Toriko, and how everything that has happened over the course of the entire series is coming to a climax here and now when you are in presence of the apex predator god and a astronomical force, Neo-Demon Acacia. I'm not done with characterization just yet, but when it comes to the pacing of each of the chapters, each one of them, relatively quick, no exception. And that is because it looks like the story is honestly coming to a endpoint. And so because the series is beelining towards the finish line, things like characterization for certain characters, like Gigi, like Acacia, like Toriko, are going to be done in like one chapter with a lot of dialogue. And what we get here is kind of the same thing when it comes to Toriko. Where Toriko, we get to see how, again, he is personifying the hope of not just the kings, but of the entire era, of the entire world itself. It's Toriko. Mainly the human world, but you can also argue probably like the entire planet itself. Because I haven't seen the kings come yet. I mean, they probably will at some point, the 8 kings. Because Guinness, he has howled. There is a call to arms still out there floating in existence. So at some point, the kings, they should be beelining to their position right fucking now. However, it is Toriko. Even though he's not mastered red and blue or the other guy yet, it is Toriko and company who are standing in front of this force here and now. And again, it's not more so that this was never going to happen, but more so it's happening at such a rapid rate. That's the main issue here. So, moving on finally to the last part of characterization, Acacia himself, where we find out a lot about Acacia, about his mental state, about how his appetite drove him to a breaking point. Apparently, he found every ingredient across the entire world. And at that point in time, he felt empty. There were no new ingredients left. All there were in front of him were a mound of clean plates. He had nothing else to achieve, nothing else to do. He felt lost, and he was falling into despair. Out comes Neo on some X-Files shit. And Neo is whispering to his ear, there are new ingredients. You still have a lot left to do. That wasn't actually an end point. That was actually a starting line. And that starting line, I'm pretty sure, was for his full course, as well as, or perhaps it was only for the current situation now, where the planet itself is at risk of being destroyed by Neo-Demon Acacia and his allies, like Joey and Wana. So, and like those elder dudes that were supposed to be like on Joey's side, but they never really did. They haven't done anything at all, honestly. But either way. So, the fact of the matter here is that the end game situation was probably stated to Acacia long ago by Neo when Acacia was falling into despair, when he had lost his way because he could find no more new ingredients on the planet. So, characterization is done, pacing is done, and finally we have the story progression, where it looks like Acacia and Toriko Company are now going to duke it out in earnest. However, something is going down with God, and odds are it's Komatsu, and Gigi is dead. Rest in peace, bro. You will be missed, because Acacia, he was just swift. He was ninja-like. Amongst the fire, he swallowed you whole. And then, hold on. Wait a second. I will throw this in as a story progression point as well. So this whole notion of Gigi being able to signal to Toriko and Company in 4 different ways that was actually clarified in a Batoto and a Viz Media translation, where it's not him actually utilizing 4 different types of communication in like 0.1 seconds. No. It makes more sense, but it's still just as weird. Where apparently Gigi had like a mental yell. And in that 0.1 seconds, with all of his concentration, he had a mental yell. And that mental yell, it sounds so weird. That mental yell was received by Toriko's smell, Zebra's sound, Coco's electromagnetic waves, and Sunny's like touch feeler things. He mentally yelled. I guess it was like secreted in some way, shape, or form from his arm. And I mean, dude, shit. it just sounds weird. Honestly, it would have been better if Gigi had just died. And then we leave this shit up to Komatsu and Otake. Honestly, that would have been a lot better. And it was stated that because of the Enbu that Toriko and company learned, they're able to receive the mental yell in their primary senses. Which again is kind of like the food luck thing. Let's stick with that in all honesty, because that just feels funky as all hell. Like a mental yell, and like, yeah, we know what to do now. Like what? Like, almost as if, like, Gigi was telepathic. But for a story progression standpoint, Toriko and the Kings, they now know the prep method of God. Finally, we can get on to some unknown forces here. Aimaru and Tengu Brunchi. Aimaru is going somewhere. His gourmet mold thing has not pointed to God, but to something else. And Tengu Brunchi is taking him there. And we know that according to Pear and Adam, centers elsewhere, probably Center the Nitro is probably getting Center the ingredient. My guess here is that Aimaru and Tengu Brunchi, they're gonna go and find Center, the ingredient itself. And they're gonna have a conflict with Center the Blue Nitro. That's my guess. And you know what? I forgot about this too. Another bad point of these chapters, mainly chapter 371, would be the fact that Center is being brought to them like a freaking goddamn delivery pizza. And this is not to my liking at all. Because, again, we had something set up not that long ago, like last year. Once we get God, Another, Muse, Adam, Earth, we are going to go to Center. That's the reason why the group split up in Area 6 in the first place. They were going to go to Center because there was something particularly unique about Center. And we find out in chapter, I think, 369, that Center is the origin of life, where all life stems from Center and all life returns to God. Something like that. And it's a very strange notion, as if like to imply that Center and God themselves, maybe they're, because I'm going to assume that Center is divine in some way, shape, or form. So maybe they are divine because they tie to the creation of the universe in some way, shape, or form. Center and God. I mean, shit, God is 10 billion years old. So maybe it does have some tie to the creation of the universe itself. Maybe. I don't know. It's very strange. It's super fucking strange. Now, it's awesome because the scale is clearly huge. It's a massive scale. The implications of saying that Center is the origin of life. And you know what? Here's what I'll do. I will keep that for the planet Earth specifically. Not for the entire universe. For the planet Earth specifically. Even though it has been hinted that God has come from elsewhere outside the planet itself, let me just say that Center is the origin of all life on the planet itself, and God is the origin, and God is where all life will ultimately return to, on the planet itself. Because God, every gourmet eclipse would wipe out a chunk of the species on the planet for the savoriness, and it will continue to do so every gourmet eclipse until now it has reached full maturity. So because it's reached full maturity, maybe its desire now would be to consume all life on the planet. Maybe Center has ties to the way the planet was originally, or like the first gourmet cell impact. Maybe that's something to do with Center. Again, I don't know. A lot of questions, and they will be answered, I don't doubt it. But it's a very strange thing to where the whole origin of life itself on this planet is now stemming from a Cassius full course. Strange. But what is ultimately sad here is knowing that, once again, there's not going to be an adventure to go and get Center on the part of Toriko and company. No. Center is going to be brought to them by Center the Blue Nitro and or Aimaru and Tengu Brunchi, probably. That's my guess. But again, I don't know. I'm not too sure. So that being said, I am done. and I will give the chapters an average rating of a good plus to great. Chapter 317 is honestly where things start to get really shaky, especially with the whole GG thing, and more so the center thing. The center thing is not to my liking at all. At fucking all. That is a huge disappointment. Massive. And again, it only points to the fact that since center is being brought to them, where there's going to be no side journey to get center, it only points to the fact that Toriko seems to be on a timer right now. So, that being said, I'm done. King of Lightning, rate the video, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Have a nice goddamn day.